Hi guys, welcome to episode 4 of the Beauty and Business podcast. Today's guest is Tabia Charles-Collins. She is a past Olympian, a real estate investor, and a serial entrepreneur. And she's here to share some important information with us. I hope you guys are excited. If you're new here, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and share. Hi Tabia, thanks for coming today.
Thank you for having me, Renee.
No problem. So let's start. Tell us about yourself and what do you do?
Gotcha. Okay, so I'm Tabia Charles-Collins. I am a business owner. So I run Team Collins Training with my husband. I'm also into real estate investments. I have an online clothing store and currently working on expanding my life coaching practice.
That's good. And what were you doing before you became an entrepreneur?
Gotcha. So I was actually working within marketing. My background is human resources and industrial relations, but I was working at Coca-Cola for a bit. I was working at Monster Energy. Then I got into project management within a pharmaceutical marketing firm. Yeah, and so that was actually my last job in a 9-to-5.
And how did it feel for you branching out from the 9-to-5 world into entrepreneurship and all your projects that you're doing now?
Liberating.
I know, right?
So liberating. You know what's so crazy? So for the longest time, I feel like every year for the past 6 years, I would say, I need to figure something out and have my own business. For 6 years. Still, of course, nervous because the great thing about having a job is you get that check every 2 weeks. But Sunday night, I would have anxiety in my stomach, oh my God, I gotta
go to work the next day, yeah.
Literally anxiety. How am I gonna pretend to laugh with people? How do I have to act? I gotta go along with everything, you know what I mean? And it just wasn't for me. And 9-to-5s I think are amazing, and people who can work hard and climb the ladder, I think that's superb. But I just like freedom. I want to use my own ideas. I want to be able to do things on my own time. I want flexibility. And so branching out was so liberating. I wake up if I want to at any time.
Yeah.
I have more time for my family. And of course it's a hustle. We hustle. My husband and I hustle. I'm constantly trying new things, but it's I'm hustling for what I love. I'm tired doing something that I love.
And for yourself.
That's it. And and your ceiling of what you can make, there's no restrictions.
Exactly.
So.
And that's the thing with a 9-to-5, it's that your paycheck never changes.
Exactly.
Even if you get a raise, your paycheck still doesn't change.
No, for sure.
It's still the same every week, just for that new amount.
No, exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's rare. It's little increments. And you work so hard and you do all this. I just always say to myself, imagine we work so hard for another company's goals, right?
Yep.
You put in all this extra overtime work. You're working till 10 p.m. You're working on weekends for clients.
Yep.
And you're making mad money for your organization. So imagine if you put half of that energy into yourself, into your own hustle, how amazing you could become. So I think about it that way. Being a leader within your corporation, within your job is awesome. Being a leader for yourself, you'll see what you can accomplish.
Exactly, I agree. So tell us about the Team Collins training that you own with your husband, right?
Yes.
How did that start?
So Dee and I have always been athletes. I went to Olympics. I've been an athlete forever, and I didn't want to do sports at all after I got injured. It was kind of I was maybe a little slightly depressed. But after just realizing, how many kids would come to us and parents can you train our kids? I'm of course, because I wanted to give back and wanted to help. And we just wanted to do something that, we love athletics. We love fitness goals and all of those things. So it's, why wouldn't we put our expertise into a business where we could make money, still help people, and still fulfill our financial goals. And so that's how it started. 2019, we officially registered our business online. And, our first session as Team Collins, we had 10 people. The next one, we had 28 people.
Wow.
And so from there, we knew we could do this. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And what was it like for you going to the Olympics?
Oh my gosh.
That was 2008, right?
2008, yeah. I always say if there's one experience I could go back to, for 2 reasons. It was just such an amazing feeling, an overall body high, but also to prove myself again would be the Olympics. Such a great, just seeing people that I watched on TV as a young kid walking into the bird's nest, people cheering your name. It was such a huge confidence booster, and I wish I was able to go there and do my ultimate best, but life happens, like that's what happens sometimes. But such a beautiful experience. I wish I could go back. I always think about it.
And that Olympics was Beijing?
Beijing Olympics.
Wow. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Now you're a mom.
Yes.
You're a mom to 2 kids. How do you find being a mom plus running all your businesses, and what kind of examples are you trying to set for your children?
Yeah, such great questions. I actually underestimated how hectic it was. Like, I always just feel like I'm Superwoman. If I want to get it done, I can get it done, right? And when you throw kids into the equation, like, I'm exhausted. Right now I'm studying for my real estate exam. I'm popping caffeine pills so I can stay up till like 3 a.m, study, but then gotta go to sleep and get the kids ready to go to school. It's no joke. Like, I commend single moms and like mothers running businesses, because I truly underestimated how hectic it is. And thank goodness I have my parents. If I didn't have my parents, I would not be able to do any of the things that I do, because it's way too hectic. But it's truly, but it's fulfilling, because I'm accomplishing my business goals, and my kids get to see mom doing cool things. Mom is happy, like she's not stressed out coming home from work. She's going to work and she's smiling, and she comes home and she's working from home and she's smiling. So that to me is so important. I want my kids to know that education is important. Like, I love learning, but education is not everything. What I went to school for is not what I'm making my money in now, right?
I feel like I know a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who I know from high school.
Yes.
Who they went to college,
Right.
they went to university, and they either couldn't find a job in their field,
telling you.
or they got a job in their field, they didn't like it.
Yes.
You know, I know a lot of people like that.
I hate to say it, but it's almost a setup. So I think if you're going to school to become a doctor, lawyer, you have to have education, right? Like, I got caught up in go to school, I got my master's degree, I was even trying to write the test to get my PhD, all of these things. I thought it's like, because it looks good. But what is looking good when there's doctors who are paying off hundreds of thousands of debt for school. You finish school and you're not guaranteed a job. So we have this thing where we tell kids, like, go to school and learn your lesson. Go to school to learn, because it's going to teach you discipline. It teaches you things like discipline and how to start and finish things. But I am such a believer now is you have to do what you like. You have to do what you love. And if you can figure out a way, take a year off of school before you apply, if you have to find out what do you want to do. Because our parents, my mother's, oops, my earring, it's okay. My mother's like, get your master's. So I thought, let me get my master's degree to make them happy, right? But these things are all for show, because I didn't get a good job in HR. It's so competitive. So you got like 50 to 100 people trying to get a job. So luckily, I got my education paid for through track and field.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So all my University of Miami degree, it was worth $60,000 a year. It was paid for. My master's degree, it was paid. All of my posts, it was paid for. But fortunately for me, it's like not everybody has that. So you're paying all this money. We need to be very strategic what we tell our kids and their career path, because paying debts for OSAP is a waste, I could go on and on about that.
No, I agree. And what are some things that you would say that your parents taught you growing up or as a teenager that you use today?
That I use today. My parents are super money, they are amazing when it comes to money.
That's good.
Oh yeah, they have investments, RSPs, they do stocks. So I learned from my parents say that they're broke and have mad money in there.
That's good.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what I've learned from them is you have to not just save money, but you have to have money aside so that your kids are good. That's their main thing. Their biggest thing was they want to be able to put their kids through school. So whoever didn't get a scholarship, they put them through school. They made sure that they could help us with our first house, all of those things. So what I've learned from them is I need to hustle hard to make sure that my kids, if they're ever in need, if there's an emergency, I can make sure that financially I've got them, because we never had to struggle, because they were putting money aside since they came to this country. And I wasn't always the best with money, and probably because my parents always were able to help, so I didn't always have that independence, right? But now having kids, I am like so on this. I gotta invest. I want to build generational wealth, because by the time my kids hit 19, 21, I want to put 20% down on a property for them. You know what I mean? So that's what I've learned from my parents. Yeah.
That's amazing. Now, you're a real estate investor.
Yes.
What made you start getting into that?
Yeah, so I've always wanted to, I always said to myself, I want to be rich one day. And I didn't know how I was going to do it. I would just say I want to be rich one day. And I realized from meeting different people that there is money in real estate. And so I remember when we sold our first house, I was so nervous because we had tried to sell before, the market crashed. But then I met my friend Rohan's, like one of my closest friends and business partner now. And so we sold that property and we got equity from our house. And he was like, always tell me, Tabia, generational wealth. He said, Black people, what we need to do is create wealth for our children, for ourselves. And he like planted these seeds in my head. And so he was selling a property at that time. And he was like, Tabia, do you know anybody? It's a two-unit dwelling, looking for someone who wants to buy it. I'm selling it. And so I was like to myself, is this like a blessing in disguise? Is the universe telling me something? And I was like, can I somehow buy it? Like, how can I do it? Like with the equity that I have? And so once I did that, and the tenants were already in there, and we were surplusing like $1,000+ from that property, I said to myself, this is going to be my retirement ticket. This is going to be my family's ticket to generational wealth. And from that, I just became obsessed and trying to figure out ways how to get other properties, and asking my parents, hey, you know what, let's get in this together. And them just believing in me and saying, Tabs, like, you're gonna make us wealthy. And
that's good that they believed in you for that, because a lot of parents with our generation,
it's true,
don't.
It's the fear.
You tell them that stuff.
Yeah.
The fear.
Yeah.
The risk. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
That's not true. Who told you that? You're crazy.
True. It's true. And typically my dad is like that. So I remember I called my mom. I was like, Mom, I'm gonna buy this. She's like, Tabby, you sure you can buy that? How you gonna? I'm like, Mom, trust me, I can do this. She's like, well, talk to your father. And so I was like nervous, and I was like, Pops, I'm gonna buy this property and I want to do a couple more. He's like, okay, Tabby, come home and talk to me. And so I laid it out.
He probably couldn't register what you were trying to say.
He was like, what is this girl? Like, I'm always like the wildest child, right? Like, just always come with crazy ideas. And so he was like, trying crazy things. And he said, okay. And then after we did it, and he saw that I got another one, and then the other day in the car, he was like, I'm now realizing what we're doing is a good thing. And I wish someone told me this 25 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, so if it wasn't for him believing in me, we still would just be regular and missing out on this opportunity to make money. This is how white people get rich, right? And nothing against white people, because I love that they're able to work as a unit. Indians, Chinese, this is how they're able to gain wealth within their families. And you see families who have houses for generations and generations. So why can't we do it? And I know that we don't always have the same opportunities, and it was way harder for Black people to get housing. We were denied loans, all those things, right? But now that we know, if we don't do better, we're doing ourselves a disservice. We're doing our children a disservice. It's like, I'm so passionate about this because so many of us are struggling.
I also feel that within our community as well, within the Black community, there's always this stigma of them wanting their children out at a certain age, like when they turn 18, like.
You're right. No, I know. I see, which is so true. It's almost
but I feel like with other cultures, they don't have that.
Push that.
Yeah.
And you're right. I think and I don't know where that comes from. Maybe it's a pressure, like, get on your feet, because
they're more willing to let their kids stay home
as long as they need to. And I agree with that. I totally agree with that. But then again, I know in Black families, I know a lot of kids still living home, and they're not saving.
Yeah.
Right. And I think what it is I truly believe if Black parents maybe saw more of a drive, and it's not for all the case, right? I'm just thinking just certain examples that I've seen for myself. Maybe if they're seeing their kids with a little bit more like ambition, showing a little bit more, okay, I want to do this. Interest. That's the biggest thing. Like showing interest in saving, and I feel like as a parent, when you don't see that, it's frustrating. So you're gonna stay in my house and be whatless. Go do that on your own.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's not the case, I'm sure, for everybody. But there are ways that parents need to help their kids more. We do need to help our children more get on their feet, because there's equity. How many of our parents have owned their house for 30 years? 30 years. with $1 million equity in their house,
Yeah.
and your kids are still out there paying rent. It doesn't make, you're paying rent for 5-10 years, $2,000.
Exactly, paying somebody else's mortgage.
It doesn't make sense. And we need to have these conversations more and more with people so that they can understand the money that they're throwing away, and that money can go towards your house. Your house is your bank. You got to take money from there. You can do that.
And the market, it's hard now.
Oh yeah, now it's
so
difficult.
hard.
Yeah,
Like,
it's true.
Like, what advice would you give somebody now
Yes.
in 2021? Because the
Right.
market's crazy.
It's so ridiculous.
Somebody now saving for their first home.
I know. This is the advice that I would give them. I know, and it's so tough now. So
because it's not like how it was.
how it was before, like
2008
no,
and 2009.
exactly. Even
you know,
2016, when the advice that I would give them is, speak to your parents. I know it's hard for a lot of people, but have the conversation with your parents. If they have equity in their property, speak to them. Will they lend you some equity? And it's cheaper that way than waiting 5-10 years to buy a property.
And what about people who they don't have that option?
100%.
There's a lot of
You're
people
absolutely right.
who their parents don't own a home.
no.
Their parents are renting as well.
This is true. This is true. So the other part is, all you can do is find creative ways to save. So how I bought my first house, me and Dennison, we were in a partner, okay?
I remember you told me about that.
Yeah, remember
actually.
I told you?
Yeah.
Listen, people think it's wild, but I had 5 partner hands, okay? Each hand was like $45,000 to $5,000. I made Dennison put hands in, and 5, 10, 15, 20, through the partner alone, we saved $30,000
Amazing.
within a year and a half.
Wow. Starting from zero.
Because I had all those hands in a partner, and of course it was hectic because I was you got to pay in bi-weekly, but I'm not the greatest saver. But that is the way that I save. You're forced to save because you got other people in there who depend on your money, so you have to find creative ways to save. You've got to be able to cut down. If you're renting right now and you're still trying to save for a house, figure out can you go back home, or can I downsize? Because there's ways that you have to do things to kind of sacrifice for a year or two.
Yeah.
Sacrifice for a year or two, figure it out, but there's ways to figure it out. And it's hard. Now is a very hard time. So are you willing to go to Bowmanville? Are you willing to go out farther? Because those are the options.
There's expensive now.
I know, it's crazy.
So crazy.
It's
Oshawa, the house is like 800 and
Oshawa,
something thousand.
There was a time you could buy a property for 2 years ago. I got something for $420,000. That same property now is worth $700,000.
Yeah.
So it's hectic times, but there are ways. Another thing that I suggest too, if it's hard to buy your first home, get in on an investment with your friends. Get in on an investment with your friends. Do a 3-year mortgage, right? If you can, if the market's great, sell the property. You guys all walk away with something. Put that towards something else. While you're just waiting, figure out ways to invest your money that you can get a return on it, and then help yourself. Yeah, there's creative ways. There's ways.
Those are some good tips. Now, last question for you. It's my question I ask every guest.
Yes.
What would you tell your younger self?
Oh my gosh. So so many things. My younger self, I would tell her, you can do anything in this world. Whatever it is that you think that you want to do, you can do it. Because everyone needs to feel that confidence and to say, if she can do it, I can do it. So me just trying different things, exploring, being adventurous, I would tell my younger self, you got this. You're so talented, you're so creative, and you can do it. Whatever you want to do, you can do it.
That's amazing. Yeah. Was there ever a time, when you were younger, that you felt like you couldn't do things?
You know what? As a young kid, so I'm a dreamer, right? I'm always in the clouds. So things that people thought okay, Tabby's crazy, here's another one of her crazy ideas. I always thought I could do something. I always thought,
Me too.
You know what I mean? It's an Aries thing.
Yeah, I've
Maybe
always been
Aries.
like that.
Yeah,
even as a child, I've always been like that.
Right? So,
and I'm still like that.
100%. There's times where it's just the other day when I was just working on all these things, I had an overwhelming moment. I was shoot, am I in over my head, trying to do all these things? A moment. But that constantly pushed me to continue to do more things. So even as a kid, I played soccer, I danced, I did volleyball, I did everything, right? And it comes from also my parents always just you can do it, just try it, you can. So it's like a blessing and a curse, right? Because we'll do a whole bunch of things, become overwhelmed some days, but we just always want to try. And I think if our kids can see that, that to me I think is such a beautiful example. And then you wonder why sometimes like some kids are timid or scared because they don't see their parents trying things, right? So
I agree.
Yeah, I continue. I know you do that. I mean, you've been like that.
Yeah, I've
trying
always,
businesses.
I always hear like, how do you do it all? How do you do it?
100%.
And I'm like, I don't know, I just do it.
Yeah. To also add, so it was Renee, remember when I got fired that day? I got let go, like a whole bunch of us from work. And it was like a moment of like, oh my God, like this gut punch in my stomach. But then I posted about it, right? And then you messaged me and you're like, Tabia, listen, you got this. Don't even worry about it. And like, I'll never, ever forget the conversation. It makes me emotional thinking about it, but I'll never forget the conversation. You're like, Tabia, you can do it. Trust me.
I remember because you were like so upset about it.
Yeah.
About losing your job. Was it you got laid off?
Got laid off, exactly.
Right,
We got laid off. So like a few people, the company was downsizing. And you were just like, Tabia, trust me, like you think it's gonna be difficult at first, but like you're gonna make a way.
Now look at you.
And I'm just trying to flourish. I'm just trying, you know, I don't know how much days I have left on this earth, but in the time that I do have, I'm gonna try and kill it as much as I can. Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, thanks for your time.
Thank you for
Thanks for coming
me.
on.
I appreciate it.
Let everybody know where they can find you on social media.
Yes, so you can find me at Tabia Charles on Instagram. And if you go to at Tabia Charles, you'll also see links to my other pages like Team Collins, my Anissa page, and my Facebook is Tabia Charles-Collins.